Pretty sure he knows what you mean.
Right, big guy?
People actually like watching this stuff.
I'm glad you asked. What's the worst that can happen?
I got my phone! It's right behind you! Classic.
God damn, am I excited about this. But first, we got to shoot a couple pickup shots with our original backers, and well...
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again back to another episode of the Witching Hour podcast. I am your host, as always, John Roycelyn. With me tonight, very special guest all the way from the West Coast, Mr. Drew Marvick. I'm losing my microphone. Mr. Drew Marvick, boys and girls. Drew, welcome to the Witching Hour.
Thank you so much. That was great. What a great intro voice you have.
Oh, well, I honestly want to say the same to you. I've actually kind of been mesmerized on some of your cooking, little tutorial videos that you've done on Instagram, man. They are you and, oh God, what's, I just completely blew it. There's another, older actor. Everybody says his voice should be God's voice.
Like Morgan Freeman or
Morgan Freeman, and I'm putting you right up there with him.
Wow,
your very soft, subtle voice. But with that being said, thank you. I appreciate that compliment as well. So, boys and girls, if you are just getting off of work, haven't gotten to scroll and do all your trolling for the day, Drew had a huge announcement today that I'm actually going to allow him. Because I'm just going to sit here and babble the whole damn time. I'm going to let Drew announce what his big announcement was today.
Sure. Well, today we dropped the first teaser trailer for Pool Party Massacre 2, along with an Indiegogo campaign for some finishing funds, so we can finish up the movie right, as I like to say. But it kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, we actually did an Indiegogo for Pool Party Massacre 2 in 2019, and then the world sort of shut down. We didn't get to make it when we wanted to, and it's taken us a long time to kind of get back in gear. And a lot's changed. We've lost locations and cast members and crew members. Changed the script several times, so we finally got our act together. And then kind of almost secretly started making the movie. Since it had been so long, we wanted to make it worth everyone's while. So we put everything we had into it to make the movie even bigger than it ever was going to be. And then kind of like, surprise, we've shot almost the whole movie. Here's a teaser trailer. It's definitely going to get finished. It's already almost done. So let's do this.
So you had now first Pool Party Massacre, huge success, and I can't believe it was already from 2017. And I do actually remember seeing the campaign for the part 2 that you had mentioned. So you've had this sitting here, and obviously, like you mentioned, COVID just screwed not only you and me and everybody else in the world, but and God damn, and you're out in Vegas too, man. That had to have been a ghost town. I couldn't even imagine seeing Vegas unplugged, so to speak, with nobody there. So you did part 1, you mentioned, on a budget of about $6,000. Is that correct, give or take?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we didn't actually have a budget when we went into it. It was, let's make this for as little as possible. My producing partner Brian, who also shot and edited the movie, we just were kind of like, hey, we'll split the costs, and so let's try to make it for, we would have made it for $1,000 if we could have, but it ended up being about $6,000.
And with that $6,000, I hope I asked this correctly. Obviously, everybody wishes at the time, God, I wish I had more money to be able to do this and offer and put that into the project. But with that $6,000 being said, were you like, damn, I can't believe that we did all that with only $6,000? Did you go to bed after the wrap, put your head on the pillow and smile and say, man, we did an awesome job? Or do you wish that only because it was the first go around that, God, I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth here. Were you ever disappointed with the final product in hopes of having obtained more money, perhaps, if that makes
Sure. No, it does. And I mean, I'm always disappointed with everything that I do. I think that's kind of like the curse of being an artist or somebody with an artistic career. Yeah. So I'm consistently disappointed. But that being said, my only goal when I made Pool Party Massacre was to make a movie. Like I'm a huge horror fan, a lifelong horror fan. I work in the film industry. I've been doing this for 24 years, 25 years now, full time. Right. I mean, this is my only job. It's not a side hustle for me. That's all I do is work in film. So I just wanted to make a horror movie. So I went into it with the intention of making a movie that maybe no one would ever see. And that was fine with me. It was just something I wanted to do for me, to show my friends and to accomplish that and get the first one out of the way. Cause I knew it would be a learning endeavor. It would be like it took us 6 months to make it. So it'd be a 6-month film school of sorts on how to make a feature film. But I had zero expectations. I genuinely thought no one would see it but my friends. And then, boy, was I wrong.
Yes, you were. It picked off and took off, bat out of hell. It's a fun movie. It really is. And being your first go around, that wasn't your first project as writer and director, was it? Just your as a full-length feature?
Yeah, it was my first feature. I directed shorts and commercials before that, but it was my first feature for sure. And also, I mean, to be fair, like we made it for $6,000, but we had an advantage over the average aspiring filmmaker in the sense that I've worked in this business forever. Brian, my partner who shot it and edited it, that's what he does for a living. He owns a production company. He shoots and edit. He gets paid to shoot and edit, videos, and had been doing that for, 15 or 20 years at that point in time. Everyone that I called a favor in from were people that do this for a living full time. So unlike people in, somewhere in the middle of America that don't even know anyone who's ever been on a real film set, but still want to make a movie, they don't have access to the resources that I had.
So it's somebody, sure.
Yeah. So it's almost unfair to say it's a $6,000 movie because of the resources that we had access to, but it still was. I mean, I still had to call in favor. There was a family affair. I mean, the movie was shot mostly at my parents' house. My kids were there. They would get off the bus and walk straight to set every day. And, my son would help pump the blood. My mom would make the sandwiches for the cast and crew for lunch. It was definitely a family affair. That's
awesome. I love hearing that. I really, really do. And man, I'll tell you what, over the past, since COVID, your face is almost iconic now. It is everywhere. It truly is. You took advantage of the downtime on social media and you definitely put your name out there. And shit, it worked. I mean, a small group of my friends and I, in the industry, we actually mentioned how every day, more and more, and it was your name always. We'd see you on this, we'd see you on that. And look at you now on Instagram, for crying out loud, you've got over 90,000 followers. Now, maybe that wouldn't have been the source if you were just coming on once a week, showing a picture of your kids and maybe promoting another movie that you might be in. And that's it.
Definitely.
So masterminding all that definitely worked to its advantage. I'm wish to God it would actually rub off on my podcast here, but congratulations on masterminding something like that. But I mean, just the amount of movies, every time you turn around, there'd be another feature, another film that your name is associated. You watch a trailer, shit, there's Drew. you have been nonstop. I mean, on fire. 13 Slays, 1031 Part 2. You've just, and of course, Paul Ragsdale is now on fire. And you are 2 for 2 with him back to back, I believe.
Yeah. This is my third film with him, actually.
Third, okay.
Now, yeah.
House That Eats Flesh. I mean, you've just been nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough to stay busy. I mean, like you said, during COVID, I really just did what I could with all I had was social media. I couldn't make anything bigger than that. So I kind of put everything into that. And then coming out of it, I didn't want to make anything myself until Pool Party Massacre 2 was done, until I could figure that out. So I just started acting more in other people's projects, and luckily based on the success of Pool Party Massacre, and then each next project that people would see me in, like you're saying, and then I think my face shows up on their feed a lot more often. So I just started offering more and more roles, and then with the success of Paul Ragsdale / Lorette Party, and then Murder Size, and now OnlyFans, and The Barn 2, and Triple Xmas, and all these other projects that I've been fortunate enough to be in. Suddenly I'm in front of everyone, and other random things like that I don't even promote. Like there's a movie called The Weapon. I think it's on Netflix. I don't even know, with Cuba Gooding Jr. that I had a small role in. And, like once a week, I'll still get a message from a random fan just saying, "Are you by any chance in a movie called The Weapon? Like, is that you? Is that you wearing nothing but a towel in a motel room?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me."
Yeah. I mean, I got to admit, man, your IMDb page it's impressive. You got a lot of numbers on there. You really do. You've been working hard at this. So what was it that brought you into acting, the entertainment industry, for that matter?
I mean, I always loved movies. I mean, I grew up, my parents loved movies. We were maybe a typical 80s household, but we rented movies constantly. We'd get pizza and rent a movie and sit on the couch and watch movies together. It was a big part of I'm an only child, so that was a big part of my life growing up, was watching movies with my parents and watching movies with my friends. Right. So, and my mom would she had 2 VCRs connected, and she would go on release day and rent 4 or 5 movies. We would watch one of them that night, and she would spend all day dubbing the other 4 onto tapes so that we could watch them the rest of the week, and she could return them all the next day, so she'd only have to pay one day. And then the next week she'd rent 5 more, dub them all. So we'd end up with, aside from the one movie we watched, and then even if she liked that movie, then she would actually dub that one too for future viewing. Right. So we'd end up with 4 or 5 movies a week, almost every week for my childhood. So at some point we had a wall full. If you imagine this wall behind me just full of dubbed VHS tapes with 3 or 4 movies on each one.
That's awesome. In
random order, often. Sometimes they'd be in somewhat related, and sometimes they would just be the 4 she rented that day. So it could be Police Academy 2, Poltergeist, and Chariots of Fire, like all on one tape. It makes no sense.
Mom was a pirate. I love it.
Yeah, and which is also how I discovered a lot of movies, though, because I would pull out a tape because it would have a movie I wanted to watch, whatever that movie would be, and either I would put it in and it would just start playing the first movie, and I'd end up watching it and discovering it, or the movie I wanted would end, and then Poltergeist would start, and I would just continue to watch it, and then discover these movies that I was probably too young to really watch. And she didn't rent for me, but she happened to throw them on the same tape as whatever I was, as Gleaming the Cube. So right after that, Hellraiser would come on, and I would be like, "Oh my God, what's this?"
Right. So what was the big horror movie that really kind of lit the match, started the fire, if you will?
Well, I mean, I've told this story a lot. The first horror movie that I have memory of watching is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Okay.
And that was when I was like 9 or 10 at a sleepover, and it terrified me. It didn't necessarily light a fire. It actually just terrified me and scarred me for life. And it's since is one of my favorite movies of all time. But I think the horror movie that really got my interest in horror would have been Nightmare on Elm Street. Probably more realistically, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, because it played so much more. Like I had more access to that movie in my childhood. But just Freddy Krueger in general, like that he kind of broke into the mainstream. Like he was the first horror icon to break into the mainstream. Like, I remember saving my allowance for weeks so that I could buy a Freddy glove at Spencer Gifts in the mall.
Nice.
Like that was a big deal when I could walk into the Mission Viejo Mall with like my $29 that I saved up and buy that Freddy glove. And I wore it. Like I remember wearing it to school. I remember waiting at the bus stop. I still have it, actually, that same Freddy glove.
I was going to ask. Oh man, that's awesome. I love hearing that. That's great. So with Pool Party Massacre 2, what can the fans expect?
Oh man, well, they could definitely expect a lot of the same, in the sense that it is a slasher film in the vein of my favorite 80s slashers. So it is a bright, daytime, hot, sunny slasher film set near a pool. But it is so much bigger than the first. Like I said, you mentioned we made the first for like $6,000, and we had that Indiegogo, and we raised more than twice that, actually triple that, actually, on that first Indiegogo. After fees and everything, we had about $18,000 left. And now we since more than doubled that and put everything we had into this, so that it could be just the biggest and best sequel that we could make it. And I think people are going to recognize that and appreciate it. But it's also still just, I mean, like I mentioned, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is one of my favorite movies. I like horror comedy. Like I don't like my horror, at least that I make, I don't need anyone to take it too seriously. I just want it to be a fun ride, a nice escape, get some laughs for people to have fun. So it's still full of tons of, blood and boobs and babes, all practical effects. But we got to up the ante. I mean, we got to do some things that we could have never done on the first one with practical effects. And same with all of the size of the crew and the gear that we were able to use. And even the talent, like we were able to bring in a little bit more of everything. So I'm excited, and I'm hoping with this crowdfunding, with this Indiegogo we have now, I'm hoping to continue that ball rolling into post-production and have it, professionally color corrected and sound mixed, and maybe even license some music for it and things like that I wouldn't be able to afford to do. I mean, honestly, the movie that we have right now, we could deliver it, and it would be, I think people would love it, and it would be leaps and bounds better than the first one. I just see the potential in it, and now that I'm in it, and now that it's in front of me, and I see how good it is, right? I want to make it the best that it can be.
And I can tell you are genuinely excited about this.
Yeah, I am.
That's awesome. That I mean, that really shows to the people. Yeah, we made part 1, and now we're making part 2, and I can tell just how you're excited about how much more you're putting into it and how you're watching it, and it's getting me excited about it too.
Well, I mean, I feel like I owe the fans the best movie that I can give them. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. Like, I genuinely, quite literally owe people, because I had this Indiegogo in 2019, so I'm obligated to fulfill that. But I mean, I could have done that at any point in time. Sure. But once I waited long enough, that no longer worked for me. Like, I couldn't just give them the bare minimum or whatever it was going to be at that point in time. As time went on, I felt like I got better and got access to bigger and better things. So I needed the project to get bigger and better with it. And so until I could figure out how to do that, which I did finally, I didn't want to just check the box and make it just so that I could fulfill my obligation. Like, I wanted it. I want people to be blown away. I want people that have watched the first one and been around since the first one to watch this and say, holy shit, like this is part 2. Right. So, and actually, in all reality, I don't know what'll happen yet, but part of me wants to release this, not even as part 2, just as Pool Party Massacre, like almost bury the first one for a little while and let this one be like you were saying, if there were things I wish I could have done differently if I had
Gotcha.
more money. Like, let this be not a remake in a sense, but just
The official.
yeah, kind of in a sense. I mean, and the first one will never go away. It already exists, and there's thousands and thousands of copies of it out there, and
Sure.
and I'm proud of it, and I'm really proud of what we did with what we had, and but in a way, I think, especially with now my reach on a global scale, there's a lot of people who've never even heard of part one. And I feel like if I release this as part two and they watch part one first, they'll expect another $6,000 slasher film. And
Sure.
maybe they won't even give it a chance if that's not what they're into.
Right.
So I want everyone to give this a chance. But I don't know yet. I don't know what'll happen. We're still editing. So
how hard was it? You said you lost a lot of locations due to COVID and so forth, and certain cast members possibly. How hard was that to have to turn back around and say, "Oh shit, now where am I supposed to film that one great scene at, and who are we going to get to play it now?"
it was tough. I mean, a lot of what we lost was actually, I guess, by design in a sense too, because I kept changing the script. Like, the longer I sat on it,
Sure.
the more I changed it. And every time I would revisit it, I would change it. And then suddenly I wouldn't need these characters that I wanted. Like, what we shot now is nothing like what we were supposed to make in 2019. Like, not even, I mean, the same killer, but that's about it. And that it takes place near a pool. But literally the script is, eventually just took the old script and threw it in the trash and did a page one rewrote the entire thing. And more with the idea of it being a newer, bigger version of the first. It's still a sequel. It's still written even as a sequel. But so yeah, we lost a lot. And then we also lost locations just as we were getting ready to film. And even with this new script, I mean, the first one was all based like out of necessity. I shot between my house and my parents' house because those were what I had access to for free.
Right.
And so coming into this one, I didn't want to have to do that. We had some fun, so I could rent some cool locations, and then those locations started falling through for just whatever reasons. And one thing I said from the beginning of this production was, I'm not going to shoot at my house. I'm not going to shoot at my parents' house. I don't want to do that to my parents again, and I don't want to do it to my kids again.
Right.
And then we got down to a week before production. Everyone's flights had been bought, crew had been booked, gear had been rented, and then we lost 2 locations and ended up shooting it at my parents' house and my house. Like, last minute, I had to rewrite this. Like, the week before, I had to go through the script and rewrite because I'd written it for one of the locations, not major things, but I had written the script based around the layout of this particular house.
Right.
So I had to rewrite a lot of it to fit my house. And in the end, I think it worked out better. Like, I honestly think it was a blessing in disguise, just because the house worked, but also there's a lot of freedom shooting it in my own house because I make the rules.
Right.
The house that we were renting had rules. We couldn't kill people in certain rooms. We couldn't use blood in certain rooms, things like that. At my house, there's no rules. If I decide that I want to put an axe through a door, we're just going to put an axe through a door. If we need to explode a head in my bedroom, then a head's going to explode in my bedroom, and I'll deal with it later.
Right.
Which has always been my attitude. So in that regard, it worked out better. Like, I was able to see what happens when you pour a couple gallons of blood in a pool.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to do that at this mansion that we were renting. But here, I could do whatever I want, and then just cross my fingers. And so far, there've been no catastrophes. I mean, there still is blood everywhere. My kids pointed out constantly, like, "Oh, we found more blood. There's still blood here. There's still blood there." I mean, it's just quite literally everywhere in the house, and in the backyard.
So when knock on wood, all things go well, when do you think you're hoping to have this completed and released?
Well, completed, the goal is to have it completed by November because AFM, the film market, is in November, and we're actually going to be there presenting and shopping the movie.
Nice.
AFM happens to be in Vegas this year, so we will actually be there shopping the movie, hoping to get the biggest distribution that we can get. So the plan is to have the movie done by then, but we won't make any decisions on a release until after that, because that'll be a big deciding factor, what happens that week.
Right. So what about projects of your own after Pool Party Massacre 2? Anything on the back burner? Any more stories that you have written that you're waiting to do in order? Finish one project, move on?
There's no order. There's no method to my madness, that's for sure. And so whichever story I'm excited about changes, they rotate. But I have several. That I've wanted to do for a while, that I've been waiting. Like I said, I refused to start anything else until Pool Party Massacre 2 was done. I just for personal reasons, I refused to do that, since I owed that to the fans. So even still, I won't until it's done. Like once it's done and locked, then I can kind of like breathe. I can exhale and think about which project I'll want to do next. I already have, just based on the hype from part 1 and now from part 2, have a production company that's interested in funding my next project. So there probably will be another one, but I'm going to wait and see, or at least wait and finish this, see it through to the end, and then I'll worry. Like, they actually already offered me to start.
Wow.
Now.
Well,
and I said no.
It's great to hear. Congratulations on that. That's impressive. That's
yeah,
really
and hopefully it won't change in the meantime. But yeah, I'm excited to do more. And in the meantime, I'll keep finishing this, and then I have all my social media. I actually have. Most people don't know. I think I posted about it for the first time on my Instagram and my Facebook just recently, that I actually have like a cooking channel. That is, most of my income now actually comes from this Facebook cooking channel that I've had for the last year.
I'll tell you what, man, I have heard that those cooking shows that people do are just like skyrocketing. And the funny thing is, before you and I got on, this was many months ago. It might have actually been over COVID, to be honest with you. One of my sons actually forwarded me one of your videos on Instagram. I don't remember what it was you were cooking. I really don't. I had actually seen it once, and then it was ironic because he sent it to me, and my response back to him was, yeah, I actually know that guy. He's like, no, seriously. I was like, no, seriously, look him up. And I gave him your name and so forth, and some of the movies that you had been in. He's like, holy shit, you really probably do know him, don't you? I was like, I'm not lying. But no, I have heard of those cooking shows, little tutorials that people do are just like fire nowadays.
Yeah, it's fun. I like having I like entertaining. I like being an entertainer and an actor. And so it's an outlet that I can easily do. Obviously making a movie takes a ridiculous amount of time. Like, it could be a year between writing, shooting, editing, and releasing, or more.
Right.
So this is an outlet. Like, actually, when we hang up, when this ends, I have all the ingredients sitting on my counter to make a blueberry lemon dump cake. That's what I will be making as soon as we end, and I'll probably post it tomorrow. But there are things that I can make. Each day I try to make a couple, so that in case I have a day where I can't make any. So I try to keep some backlog, but it's something I can do, in an hour or two, and I can still put myself into it, put my own creative energy into it and have fun with it. But do it in a short span. And in this weird world that we live in, it can actually make, I've had cooking videos make more money than Pool Party Massacre has to date.
Wow.
And which is mind-boggling, because it's a 3-minute video.
Right.
That took me an hour. Like, the first one that ever did really well was a fruit salad. It's literally just mixing fresh fruit with Jell-O and Cool Whip. That's all it is.
It's you. I'm telling you. Drew, listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. everybody that's out there, again, Drew Marvick, coming hopefully sooner than later. Wishing you all the best, obviously, with the final product and getting it distributed for Pool Party Massacre 2. Anything in closing, sir?
Just follow us on social media at Pool Party Massacre on most of the platforms, especially Facebook and Instagram, and myself at Drew Marvick on both of those. I'll be updating constantly and trying to post entertaining stuff. And then, of course, if you want to see the new teaser trailer we just dropped, or contribute and pick up a screen-used weapon like this bloody knife and some wardrobe and other cool perks, then go to the Indiegogo.
Boys and girls, I definitely appreciate you guys taking the time to join Drew and myself. Drew, it was a pleasure talking with you this evening. I definitely wish you the best on all of your future projects, and please don't ever hesitate to come back and update us, or if you just want to shoot the shit or show us and talk to us about more recipes, because God knows I love food. And so, boys and girls, that's it. Definitely thank you again for joining us on the Witching Hour podcast. Be sure to check me out on a Roku app. Download that for free and hit the little subscribe button. I am on all social media platforms as well. Until next time, though, boys and girls, remember to always keep it evil.